Since we're recording, feel free to keep your cameras off, or if you want your cameras on, that's fine too. There'll be plenty of time for questions in this webinar, so feel free to put your questions in the chat, and I'll get to them at the end of my presentation, or during that time you can maybe put your camera on and ask me the question yourself. So welcome everybody. My name is Professor Abby Kinchy, and I am a professor in the Science and Technology Studies Department at Rensselaer. I'm a sociologist, so I'm a social scientist, and most of my colleagues in my department are also social scientists. And the purpose of this webinar today is to give you some information and help you think about the possibilities of doing a dual major at RPI in a field that draws on the social sciences. Now, I know you're probably thinking about maybe majoring in engineering or architecture or business, or there's so many other options obviously at RPI, but I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to learn about actually some really interesting possibilities of pairing whatever major you have you're thinking about declaring with a degree in my department. And we're going to talk in particular about two different majors, one called Science, Technology, and Society, and the other called Sustainability Studies. And I want to give you some information that might help you decide whether one of these is right for you. Let's see if I can get the slides to advance. Okay, so first of all, if you're thinking about any of these degree options, it helps to be a people person. That is, it helps to be interested in human beings, how they live, how we collaborate together, thinking about social issues in general. So I teach classes in, and my colleagues in my department teach classes in three different programs. The first two we're going to talk about today, and the third there's already been a separate webinar about. If you missed that, you can catch that on our YouTube page, and you can also contact me directly if you want more information. So let me talk about first Science, Technology, and Society, and then Sustainability Studies. So Science, Technology, and Society is an interdisciplinary social sciences and humanities major where you investigate the social and historical dimensions of science, engineering, and medicine. So you might be interested in the history of medicine or about the ethics of engineering. In this program, we have a big emphasis on learning about law, policy, and ethics. So it's a great match for almost any technical field at RPI. Then we have sustainability studies. Sustainability studies, as you can probably guess from the name, is all about examining human-environment interactions so we can make a more sustainable life on this planet. So our students learn how to develop sustainability strategies through policy, through community engagement. We have a lot of community engagement projects where students are doing things in the local community, and also other kinds of hands-on projects. So the third degree program that I wanted to mention to you is Design, Innovation, and Society. And this one might appeal to some of you as well. And if so, definitely let me know. This is a design studio-based program. And the whole idea is teaching students how to become designers who put people first. And we are pretty broad ranging when we think about design. So it could mean designing products, but it could also mean designing organizations, designing processes, designing policy. So it's a program that's really intended to give you a holistic approach to thinking about design. And that program is really structured around giving students hands-on design experience as well as social research skills. So like I said, that's not going to be the focus of this presentation today, but I could certainly share more information with you about that if you're interested. So I want to talk to you about making the decision about which of these dual major or standalone major options is right for you. So here's how we're going to proceed. I'm going to start by talking about why you might want to do a dual major at RPI. And then I'm going to share a little bit about the similarities between sustainability studies and STS. Right, there are some commonalities, which is, I'm involved in both of them, and I can see some of the commonalities. And then finally, I'm going to talk about some of the important differences and maybe help you choose which one might be right for you. So a quick introduction to dual majors at Rensselaer. So they're not for everybody, but they're really good for outstanding, hardworking students who are really organized and have an idea of what they want to accomplish when they're in college. You can complete a dual major, really creating a distinctive career profile. So you can build a combination of two majors that set you apart from other students in each of those standalone majors. So they are designed so that you can complete the requirements for both majors in just 4 years. So doing a dual major doesn't mean adding years to college. You can still do it in 4 years. You just have to be thoughtful about it from the beginning so that we can organize your schedule to make sure that you can get all of your requirements in. And don't worry, you'll still have some flexibility with electives and some choices certainly you'll have a lot of choices in the classes you want to take. So there are so many different examples of dual major combinations. Here are just a couple that you might think about. Maybe you're interested in mechanical engineering. That pairs really well with science, technology, and society. Recently, so sustainability studies pairs with a lot of degrees as well, but recently we've had a couple of students who have paired economics with sustainability studies, and that seems to be a really nice combination as well. But of course, if you're interested in environmental engineering or environmental science or earth science, those are also great combinations, but sustainability studies can go along with almost any other degree on campus in engineering, the sciences, or anything else. Oh, and I just wanted to share this picture is just from some presentations earlier this week. It's the end of the semester here now, so our students have been presenting all their research projects. This one from our politics of design class, students sharing the research that they did. This one obviously related to IT issues. So whichever major you choose, whether it's sustainability studies or STS, there is a very strong focus on research and career development. That's a very signature part of both of these programs. So you would be learning methods from experts in sociology, history, and anthropology. You would collaborate on faculty research projects. In fact, pictured here on this slide is my student, Hannah, who's been working with me as an undergraduate research assistant for the last 2 years. We're actually about to publish a paper together. We've been doing research long enough now that we actually have a couple of different research papers in the works. And in this picture, she's presenting her senior thesis project, which she just presented on Monday, culminating her work at RPI. She's just one example of a student who's been very highly involved in research throughout her time. So as I mentioned, in either of these degree programs, whether it's sustainability or STS, you will write and present a senior thesis. So there is, you will be leaving the program with a written evidence of your research skills on a topic that you've chosen, research design that you've developed, and of course, with a lot of mentoring from professors like me and other professors in our program. In addition, we don't only focus on research, we also focus on careers and career development. We have a course that usually students will take either in their sophomore or junior year that is all about finding your career path. So getting exposure to all kinds of different careers that you can pursue with your degree, but also learning all kinds of professional skills like grant writing, thinking about organizational plans, all kinds of professional development skills that are really, really useful. And in fact, the students in the careers class each year organize a job fair called Job Fest, which in particular focuses on bringing in companies and other employers that have a sustainability or social justice emphasis. So it's bringing new kinds of job opportunities to the whole campus community. And finally, I just want to mention that we provide a lot of support to students for internships in arenas of law, policy, and community development. We are just a very quick drive from New York State's capital, Albany. And so there are many opportunities for engaging in work related to legislative issues, public policy, affecting the whole state. So there are, of course, differences between the two degree programs. So I'm going to drill down a little bit more into what each of these programs do. So science, technology, and society. Perhaps some of the distinguishing features here are just the kinds of courses that you'll take. So this is just a variety. We offer more courses than this, but this is just sort of a smattering of options that you could choose from. Bioethics is a very popular course. History of American technology, medicine, culture, and society, gender, science, and technology, politics of design, law, values, and public policy. So you can see sort of some of the themes that are common throughout these courses, right? Thinking about policy, thinking about gender, inequality, and history, and thinking about ethics. I also wanted to mention that students doing the STS degree are often oriented toward pre-professional work. So thinking about going later to law school or to medical school or other health careers. These are not the only paths for our students, but they do seem to be common. Law school in particular is a really popular next step for STS majors. RPI does have pre-law advising, helping students get their questions answered to figure out how to position themselves as best they can to go to law school. And many of our students go to excellent law schools after graduating from our program. Like I mentioned before, being in Troy, right near Albany, gives great opportunities for legislative internships. And I also just want to mention that the courses that are required for the STS major actually provide many of the requirements for admission to graduate programs in medicine or other health careers. So increasingly, medical school requires things like sociology, which is of course one of the courses that we offer in the department, and a course like medicine, culture, and society obviously looks very good on an application to medical school as well. So here's just a couple of students that I sort of want to brag about who have really done some great things and illustrate the kind of path you could put together. So Maggie Cullither she was passionate about emergency medicine. She actually worked for the RPI ambulance when she was a student here. And she did a degree in STS, and she combined those passions to pursue a career in public health. And is in a really fantastic public health research position today. Samran Ali, she used her STS degree as well as a legislative internship experience to go on to launch a very successful legal career. And I love hearing her updates about the kinds of really interesting law that she's practicing now. So let me turn now to sustainability studies. Oops. We can certainly talk more about STS as we go on as well. So sustainability studies obviously is distinctive in the kinds of classes that students will take. One that many students take is sustainability debates. That's a first semester course to introduce students to the program. All of our majors will take environment and society. Some other interesting options are sustainability education, environmental justice, food, farms, and famine, and regenerative design. And one thing I want to highlight, all those pre-professional things that we talked about with STS, like getting ready for medical school or law school, are true for sustainability studies as well. But we also have a lot of emphasis on creating a living learning community around sustainability at RPI. So for example, if you are coming to RPI and making your choices about which dorms you want to live in, I would definitely recommend indicating that you want to be in Vasuda. Vasuda is a first year dorm, it's first year housing. But it incorporates, there's a wonderful garden, I'll show you a picture in a minute, all field trips related to sustainability. There's a classroom so that there'll be some integration of some of your living and learning experiences in your freshman year, all around the theme of environmental sustainability. We also, I don't know if you all use Discord, probably a lot of you do. Certainly our students and our professors tend to use Discord for a lot of communication. And there's a really big, great community of students who care about the environment on Discord at RPI. And there's also a lot of great clubs like Engineers Without Borders, for example. There's a Sunrise group on campus, and lots of other. The Student Sustainability Task Force has been really vital on campus as well. So lots of great opportunities to get involved in environmental oriented clubs and activities at RPI. Here's just some photos from some recent things. So our sustainability studies majors are just so involved in many things in our community. I mentioned the garden, the Basuda Garden. That's of course, when things are really growing. This must have been at that early fall, at the end of summer, when things were really in full bloom. I was just out there with the students the other day, and things are just getting going. Little lettuces are coming up. It's been, we're just getting into spring right now. The picture of the students canvassing. This is, so we recently have had a lot of issues around, or questions around water quality in Troy, in some of the really old housing stock here. And so students have been involved in policy advocacy to make sure that all residents have access to lead-free drinking water. And so this has been a project through classes, through extracurricular activities. So we see a lot of really cool political, environmental engagement among our students. And then we just have some great field trips, like checking out mushrooms at Prospect Park, one of our big city parks right near the campus. So great options. Both of these dual major options are fabulous for students in almost any other degree program at RPI. And so the question is, how do you choose? For either of these, if you want a well-rounded education, you're interested in small classes. Many of our classes are fewer than 19 students, right? We have close discussions, right? We're really engaged in getting to know each other and working hard together in small classes. And if you want opportunities for people-centered research, either of these degree programs could be right for you. So of course, I'm just going to ask you what your passion is. Are you someone who's passionate about environmental issues like the climate crisis, pollution, habitat protection? Sustainability studies is obviously going to be the right choice for you. What about other issues you might be passionate about? Do you have critical questions about AI, about public health COVID response, transportation infrastructure, or any number of other issues that are relevant to science and technology and medicine? Obviously, I would say choose STS. That's a degree program where you're going to be able to investigate and gain knowledge and skills in engaging with those kinds of topics. I also want you to think about your career plans. So sustainability studies is really set up to prepare you to work as an environmental expert in government, in industry, in nonprofits, right? If you want to be the person in the company that you work for who understands the larger set of issues around environmental policy that might be relevant to your company, sustainability studies obviously is going to be really useful to you. STS maybe has some broader applications. It really prepares you to work in any technical field that benefits from understanding its human dimensions. So think about how many companies, IT companies or tech companies are facing questions about the ethics of their technology, or how people are using the technologies in ways that are unexpected. STS is going to be a degree that helps you to think through those problems. Also, just generally speaking, employers do value good communicators and critical thinkers, and that's what the STS degree is setting you up to do. You'll do a lot of writing, presentations, developing your skills as a communicator. And then finally, I have to mention that because both of these programs do have an emphasis on research, they're really great preparation for graduate school. So I've already mentioned being on a path for law or medical school. Certainly sustainability studies has been an important stepping stone for a lot of our students to go on to environmental law as a profession, or into a PhD in some related field. And so we do try to provide a lot of mentoring for students who want to go on to advanced degrees after their bachelor's. So I'm going to wrap up with my presentation here. I do want to emphasize that if this is of interest to you, you really will get the best advising experience if you declare sustainability studies or STS as you come in. So declare it as your dual major. It could be your first major or your second major. The order doesn't really matter. but we want to get you connected with an advisor. We have an advising office that will support you, as well as a faculty advisor who will be assigned to you to help you put together the best possible combination of classes and make sure that the plans for both of your majors that you'll be pursuing simultaneously work well together. So if this is something that's interesting to you, I definitely recommend listing STS or sustainability studies as one of your majors. And you can also change those things once you're here, but it's really good to get connected from the beginning. You can also contact me with questions. I'm going to take questions now, but if you have questions later, I provided my email address here on the screen, so please jot that down. And I'd be more than happy to field any questions that you have for me. So I'm going to end the slideshow now. I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to look at some of these questions that have come up in the chat. So let's see. All right, architecture. Yes. Yeah, that's a great question. I believe so. So the question is about, is it possible to do a dual major with architecture and one of these degrees? Architecture is a little unique because it is a 5-year program. I believe that is possible. I'd have to check. We have, for all the duals, we have templates made up for when you need to take those sequence of courses. And basically the way it works to make them duals is every major has a list of required courses that you need to take in the humanities and social sciences and a bunch of electives. And what we do is we have you take those, all those required social sciences and humanities courses and electives in the degree program that you've chosen, say sustainability studies. So assuming that architecture has those same requirements for, that you have to take classes, that should work. I need to double check though. So I would ask you to, if you could send me an email, I'll just double check on the template and make sure that the timing works, how we fit together the 4-year and the 5-year program. Okay, the next one. Oh, how can you get a copy of this webinar? So I am recording the webinar, and we have so the STS department at RPI has a YouTube channel. We're just gonna edit this afterwards and put it up on that channel. So you'll be able to see the whole YouTube as well, see it on YouTube. What is a good minor to environmental studies? Oh, okay, so I didn't even mention that in this presentation, but so I've just been talking about dual majors, but if you're interested in doing a minor, both of these degree programs also can be done as a minor. Yeah, so you can do an STS minor or sustainability studies minor. And those are typically 4 classes, so 16 credits. So, it's considerably less coursework than the major, but if that's something that fits better into your schedule, you could do a minor in sustainability studies. And I definitely recommend that for anybody who's interested in environmental issues, because you have to take classes in the School of Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences anyway as an RPI student. So you might as well focus them around a topic that interests you. So sustainability studies works really well for that. Okay, how late into the academic year can I declare a dual major in sustainability studies? So you can actually declare a dual major in sustainability studies. I mean, it's not advisable to do it in your junior year, but I've actually had students who have added the dual major in their sophomore year. It's a little bit harder because there's a bit of a crunch to get all the courses in the right order. So you might recognize that there's some sequenced courses, and if you don't start with them in your first year, you have to sort of stagger things in a weird way. But you can declare a little bit later. I just recommend that to get the best advising experience, you express your interest in the major from day one. If you change your mind later, it's actually not that big of a deal to just go back to one major, but I think students will be best supported in a dual major if they actually start it sometime in their first semester at RPI. Okay, Is it possible to dual major in MEC-E and Comp Sci? That I don't know. I am not, since I don't teach or advise students in those programs, I'm not sure how the dual major works for those two. What I would recommend is to contact the advising offices for either of those programs and ask them if they've worked out templates for a dual major for those two degrees. Okay, if I'm doing ITWS, so this is information technology and web sciences, can I have a concentration in environmental science or sustainability studies? I believe sustainability studies, so my department, STS, has a very close relationship with ITWS. So we know we have lots of students who are in ITWS who are interested in doing STS or sustainability. So yes, so we can definitely, I have to look at the requirements for those concentrations in ITWS. I know that they have specific concentrations defined, but generally speaking, those ITWS and anything in the STS department works pretty well together. Is it possible to double major in 2 different departments? I'm admitted in physics major. Can I have a dual major or minor in computer science as well? So I'm gonna have to give the same answer that I gave to the other student who has a similar question. I can only speak for dual majors with programs in my department. You would have to check with the computer science department or with the physics department about whether they support those dual majors. Okay, those are all the questions that I currently have in the chat. Does anybody have any further questions for me? How difficult is it to complete the dual major program if there isn't much overlap? Yeah, so basically, this is a great question, Natalie. This is sort of a time management issue. So one thing to really understand about RPI, so no matter which major you come in to do at RPI, you will be required to take about 6 classes in the School of Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences. You will generally also have electives that you could take anywhere. And so the dual major program works, and it works well because we take advantage of, instead of having students sort of randomly choose classes in humanities, arts, and social sciences, or just choose whatever electives all over the place, we say, all right, you have all these spots in your schedule anyway to take courses outside of your major department. Why not focus all of those on another major? And we have, sort of worked out agreements across those programs to make sure that there is alignment. So this is why I can't really speak for other programs besides STS, Sustainability Studies, and Design, Innovation, and Society, because I'm not sure if they've worked out those sort of templates for how they go together. But certainly we've worked that out for many popular majors on campus. And so it isn't more coursework. It is the same amount of coursework that you would do anyway, but it's about choosing your courses wisely so that you satisfy the requirements for both degrees. Okay, so I just got another question about when going to RPI, where do students usually do their internships or jobs? Is it in Troy or in the bigger cities? This is a great question, Alexandra. So we have many students will do some kind of internship or community engagement project while they're still taking classes. So those might be sort of like community engagement projects, maybe working with a local organization in Troy. For example, I do a project that involves the community in Troy in doing citizen science projects to test for pollution in the environment. And so students can be involved in that project with me, and we work with a local organization in Troy. So that's sort of like during the semester, while you're also taking classes, you can be doing work that's relevant to the career you're trying to develop. But then when students, at RPI, all students do a semester away. I don't know if you've encountered this in learning more about RPI, but in your junior year, one of your semesters, you will be away. And so we've had students who go and work work in a senator's office in their home state, or work for a company that's doing work that they're interested in. And so that can truly be anywhere, or students use that time to do study abroad. So, of course, we like to connect students with opportunities to do the things that they really want to do with that time away. But then I mentioned, I think earlier in the presentation, we're very close to Albany, which is the state capital. And that means if you're interested in anything related to public policy issues, lawmaking, there are a lot of good local, semi-local to us. It's maybe a 15-minute drive from Troy to Albany to work in a pretty important place for thinking about public policy. So it really does range from very local kinds of projects that people are working with organizations to really going all over the country or around the world, depending on the time that they have available and where they are in their, in their schedule, right? Is it a time when they're doing a lot of coursework and they need to be on campus all the time? Or is it during a time where they can be away and be fully immersed in an internship? So great, thank you for that question, Alexandra. Okay, which field of STS major, which field do STS majors mainly focus on? Policy, law, or medicine? How can students have enough time to learn all of them? Okay, great question. Yeah, so one of the things I wanna, I've emphasized the sort of flexibility of the program so you can have a wide range of interests. But of course, you can't specialize, you can't become an expert in all fields. So let's say you are choosing the STS major and you're especially interested, you think that your future is going to be working in health or medicine. So then we're going to steer you toward classes that are most relevant to that. You're going to work on research projects that are most relevant to that, and you'll do your senior thesis project that's in that area. And so you might miss out on some of the questions about law and policy because you're really focusing in on the questions of public health. We have the flexibility in this degree to help students pursue the specific things that they're interested in. And that's mainly through a research focus and through what we call topics courses. So courses like medicine, culture, and society, which are sort of advanced level courses, but they really specialize in the particular areas that students want to be working in. On the other hand, students who are super fascinated with law and policy, we want to get them taking courses that are relevant to that early on, and then focusing their research efforts, their internship projects, and their senior thesis in that area. So maybe you don't know yet what you're interested in. We do, of course, give you lots of opportunities to explore and figure out, what do you care about? What's most interesting to you? What are you good at? So certainly, at least the first year and into your sophomore year as well, you have lots of chances to try out a few different things. But then, we really count on students to begin to identify what they care the most about and choose their courses and their research projects accordingly. Okay, so there's a question here. If you discover in your first year that you love AI and would like to explore doing a major in AI, could you do it even if you're not admitted to a computer science major? So this is not specifically my area, but I will suggest that you have a look at the cognitive science department. There's a lot of interesting work being done in cognitive science. That's also in the School of Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences at RPI. I would just recommend that if that's something you're thinking about, have a look at that department and see if you could connect with faculty members who are doing work in that area. I'm just thinking about, there's a first semester course called Minds and Machines that might be especially interesting to you. So you might want to check that out. Great. Well, really appreciate these great questions. Like I said, if a question comes to you afterwards, or if I didn't explain something as fully as you'd like, please feel free to send me an email. Always happy to talk to students who are thinking about coming to RPI. And it's just really important to me that I help you, create the learning experience that you really want to have. Students who do the dual majors are usually really interested in a well-rounded college education and want to do great things with their lives. And so I really want to connect with all of you who are interested in this. Oh, I just saw another couple questions come in. what about exchange programs abroad? Yeah, good question. So through my department, we don't have any formal partnerships with universities abroad for study abroad. Students will often organize that during their away term. So I just had a student who came back from a semester in Scotland, took some really great classes there and came back ready to do her thesis project in her senior year. So certainly students are doing study abroad. That's not something that I coordinate through my department, but definitely I have seen the benefits of doing study abroad, getting a different kind of, taking different kinds of classes, a different educational culture, and of course, having the great experience of living in a different city somewhere else in the world. So it is a really great thing to do. And then how many students do the STS major every year? So STS is a fairly small major. We have about 10 students each year who are doing the major in STS. I would say about the same number in sustainability studies, maybe a little more. And then our other major through my department that's called Design, Innovation, and Society is larger. It's maybe closer to 25 each year. So what that means, because these are smaller majors, is that students get really personalized advising and attention. So when I've talked about students in this presentation, who are doing their thesis projects or, have had internship experiences, I know each of those students, right? They come to my office and we talk and I know them. We're in classes together. They really build a cohort where the students know each other really well. So it is kind of nice in a university where you can often be taking really big classes or be in a major, like many of the engineering majors are very large, to have a dual major that's quite a bit smaller and you get a little bit more of the personal touch. We're definitely trying to grow these programs though, so I can't promise that they will always be really small. But if you're coming in this fall, it would be a pretty small group of students, so you'd get to know your professors and the other students really soon. Thanks for that question. All right, I'm not seeing any more questions at this point. It was great talking with all of you. I'm really grateful that you made the time this evening to connect and to listen. And I really hope you'll come join us at RPI. It'd be great to have you, and I'd love to see you in some of my classes next year. I think that's all, so I'm going to end the webinar here. Grateful for your attendance. Thanks.